From time to time, I run into an instrument that's both affordable and high quality. This doesn't happen very frequently, but when it does, it sure brings a smile to my face. My latest finding is the Fender Telecaster and the Fender Stratocaster made in Korea, light ash. And these two models were made in 2004, 2005, I think, and then they got discontinued as they were. They had a few comings after that, but they were never exactly the same. I think they changed the color and they changed a couple features. So I got myself a couple of these, and I was very pleased with them. I'm gonna show you a little bit of what they do and how they compare to one another, because they are surprisingly different between them. So let's begin with the Fender Telecaster Lite Ash. As you can see, it's got right off the bat several features that you find in really high-end instruments. Like, for instance, notice the fretboard, it's bird's eye maple. And I don't know if the camera is doing justice to it. We don't really have the luxury of sun here in Seattle, but if you can see, it's very highly figured. The neck, the back of the neck is also bird's eye maple. It's not as figured as the fretboard. It's a two-piece, by the way, but still, it's quite good. And the body is a two-piece ash, which I also find to be interesting, because usually even the expensive guitars, unless you get really high end, they are usually three pieces or even four pieces. No, that is not really that this is going to change much the instrument itself, but it's kind of nice looking, and like I said, it's hard to find, because usually the factories don't usually find pretty pieces of ash or whichever material they are using in this big a size. Like I said, the guitar was built in Korea, and it's got Seymour Duncans. Both of them are Seymour Duncans. They are noiseless, of course, and I thought my first impressions were kind of divided, because for once the pickups themselves sound actually very good. I have zero complaints about their tone, and they are not very high gain at all. They kind of sound stratty. They sound like, or in this case, telly. So it sounds the way you would expect. However, when you A/B this guitar with regular telly, or a Mexican or an American, you can hear that there's definitely a difference in tone. That being said, this doesn't mean this one doesn't sound great or just as good, but it sounds a little different, that's for sure. What else? There's really not a whole lot more to say about this guitar other than the physical aspects of how it plays and all, which I'm going to review in a second. The neck feels like a D shape, just traditional D shape. If I have to make an assessment, I would say it's not too thin. It's a bit more in the chunkier side, without being extremely thick at all. So medium, I would say, medium in the thicker side, and that's pretty much it. String through, of course, beautiful finish, and about the craftsmanship and about the playability. Well, there's pros and cons that I found. Again, the sound is a little different, but that shouldn't be a problem with you. If you play it, I think you'll probably like the tone. It's got twang, and it breaks a little bit when you pick hard, which I really like, because I like clean tone, but I also like when it gets a little dirty. The frets, oh yeah, the frets are a little thicker. I would say they are jumbo, or they feel as such. They definitely feel thicker than your average Tele frets. Abalone inlays or something that looks like abalone, it doesn't really matter, I suppose, because it does nothing for you except for the looks. And the frets, one thing I wanted to mention about the frets and the action, the action is actually quite good and the guitar stays in tune just fine, at least this one. I've read a few reviews on different websites when some people complained, some people said that they stay in tune fine. In my humble experience, I've had 2 of these over the years. They stay in tune just fine. I couldn't find anything wrong with them. The nut is maybe a little narrow, so I can see how some units could come with with a tuning problem, but I guess I've been fortunate enough that the ones that I got did not have any issues. The fretwork, this again, I can only speak for the ones that I have. I thought it was all right, but not fantastic, not great. And here's why. In every guitar that I've had of this series, there was always a high fret someplace, usually around this area. Now, this doesn't mean that they were extremely high or that it killed the experience, but you can only get your strings so low when one of the frets is a little high, because when you bend, it will, because of the radius, it will get shut. That being said, the action on this particular one is medium low, and it plays fantastically well. But if you really want low action, I don't know that I would advise you to get one of these, because, well, unless you, of course, you're a luthier or you like the guitar and you're going to take it to somebody to do the work for, to get it well adjusted. So I would say that as an average, considering the ones that I had, they all had the same semi-flow. So the frets are not perfect, but they're still good. It's just not at the level that I've seen in the Mexican Strats or Japanese or the US Strats. I would say the fretwork is a little bit of a step down on that sense. But that being said, I really like the bigger frets. So it's it's got a pro and a con there. So this your choice. One thing that I also didn't care much for is the pickguard is very specific to this model. So if you have an issue or you break it or something, it's going to be really hard to replace. I would say actually impossible to buy the exact piece. You could potentially get one done to the same specifications, but I don't know if this is going to come through the pictures, but the pickguard is actually very thick. It's a very thick piece of plastic. So that might bring some trouble. The saddles are brass and they work fine. In my opinion, they have really nice resonance. The sustain is pretty good. The tone is pretty good. It's just a very nice neck to play around with. It feels great. It feels like it's been like it's got a very thin oil. I don't know if that's the case really, but it feels like it is. At least that's the sensation that I get. Nothing like these, thick finishes that they put in, or that sometimes they put in their Mexis or some of the Japanese. Again, nothing against those. I like them, but I know that some people don't really care for them. This one seems almost like bare wood. And I don't know, there's something cool about it. It's like you get a special connection when you're playing, and it feels like you're grabbing a solid piece of maple. And other than that, I think that's it for this one. And now I'm going to show you the Fender Stratocaster, the Stratocaster version of the same model, which is the light ash. One thing to mention, notice that the logo it's a little different to the usual logos that you'll find in Mexi's, American and Japanese. I don't know exactly why they did this, but it's a little different. In fact, I have to admit, before I knew of these models, when I saw the headstock, I thought it was a fake because it looked a little different. But obviously, it doesn't really do anything for the volume or for the tone or for anything. It's just something to get acquainted to. This is a 2005. The one that I just showed you is a 2004, and it's basically the same thing. It's a two-piece body, which is kind of cool. Same thing, is a bird's eye maple fretboard. It's probably the cheapest high-quality bird's eye maple that I've ever seen. This one is a little less figured than the other one, but still beautiful. Same Duncans as well, and the same deal as with the other one. It doesn't sound like the way I expect a traditional Strat to sound, but it sounds very good, if that makes any sense. I suppose you could always swap the pickups. They are not Duncan licensed. They are actual Seymour Duncans, and they come right from stock. They come like this, and I really like their tone. There's nothing wrong about them. Just be aware, if you're expecting a very traditional Stratty sounding guitar, in my opinion, is not that. Same thing about the frets. Of course, I found a high fret in this area, so if I get the action a little lower than the average, and I bend, there would be one fret that gets a string quiet. And again, that will only happen if you push it a bit too, the action a bit too low. And I'm saying this because, of course, you don't know me, you don't know which action I get ever, or if I'm crazy, or if I even know how to set it up. So I can tell you that I've had many guitars. I've set up guitars. I'm actually a certified luthier, and when I'm used to setting up Mexi's Strat. I do Fender a lot, and with most USA guitars, most USA or Japanese Strats, I can get the action super low, and the frets are usually even. Especially the Japanese ones, they are perfect every time. And this one is not there. Again, it's a little bit of a step down, but it's not something crazy. It's not something that would keep me, and I'm very picky. It's not something that would keep me from buying it or from enjoying it at all. So, still great guitar. The electronics feel solid. I don't know if they put the highest quality in here, but when I roll them, they have some good friction that tells you that there's something doing its job there. The bridge is at 2 pivot point, just like in the higher quality models. Which, it's good for stability, and all around the hardware feels very solid. There's not a cheap feel about it at all. It's like it really is a good guitar. I suppose it's because it's Korean that people feel sometimes a bit more skeptical because they are not as popular as the Japanese guitars or American or Mexicans, but. I really think it's a fantastic instrument. There's nothing bad about it. And same thing, the neck feels like it's got a very mild oil to it. Oh, one thing that I wanted to mention. I said that the neck on the Tele is like a bit larger, D type. This feels like a very pronounced V neck. In fact, I have to say, it's probably the most pronounced V that I've ever played, ever. It really has a pick on this area that you can feel. So it's if you're not familiar with it, a D shape would be like nice and rounded, and a V would be more like this. If this is the fretboard, it would be like this. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but that's the feel that I get. And with this one, is like that. It's much thinner than the Tele version, and I don't know, it's equally as comfortable. They both feel like a really high quality instrument. I just wish they would have made a little bit of a better job with the frets. But then again, it's maybe it's just me being super picky about it, and you play them and love them right from scratch. I don't think this model ever came with a hardshell case. I think it came with or either a gig bag or absolutely nothing. And that makes me wonder why they made this guitar. It's like I mean, I'm glad they did, but it's really weird because they made like a super custom top of the line type of guitar, but they made it in Korea and they barely advertised it and discontinued after a year. Of course, it always makes me think maybe they discontinued it because it did very well and it was competing, because it had all this stuff that you need to invest $4,000 or $3,000 to get in your USA models custom shop. I don't really know, but if you have a chance to play one of these or to get one of these, I will encourage you to give them a try. It's just a cool guitar. And now, if you're looking for a Strat or a Tele and you don't have any, but you know what you're expecting them to sound like and to feel like, this feels a little different. I cannot stress this enough. Still good. If you've never played one, you're probably gonna love it anyways. But if you've had a Strat before and you want to get back to this tone and to this feel, I think you may be better suited with a different model. If you'll take my humble advice, I will probably try a Japanese one, which they are still, you can get them for fairly affordable price, and the quality is just off the roof. The bone on this one is also very narrow, so I can understand. I can tell that, you know, it's possible that some of them, the strings got stuck and had tuning issues. This one did not have any tuning issues. It's not really a difficult fix at all, but it's worth mentioning. This looks like plastic. And the truss rod, of course, I adjusted both truss rods when I made them, when I got the guitars, and they worked fine. The feel is also very solid and very well made, and I'm very satisfied with it too. So I hope you like them. I think I'm gonna make a little short video just playing them around so you can listen to what they sound like. And I'll see you in the next video. See you soon. Bye.